Hello and welcome back to our Literary channel's UGC NET Literature Concept Series. I'm Kanan Prasad and today we are exploring another essential concept in genres and movements that has appeared in previous UGC NET exams. Today's concept is pastiche. This significant literary technique has been featured in UGC NET examinations and falls under our genres and movements cluster. Let's examine pastiche. The term comes from the Italian pasticcio, originally referring to a pie made of diverse ingredients and later used in art to describe works combining elements from various sources. While imitation has existed throughout literary history, pastiche as a conscious literary technique gained prominence during the Renaissance with humanist imitation of classical models. It became increasingly significant in the Romantic period and particularly flourished in modernist and postmodernist literature of the 20th and 21st centuries. The concept of pastiche has roots in ancient rhetorical practices of imitation but emerged as a distinct literary term in 17th century France. It gained critical attention through T.S. Eliot's The Waste Land and its deliberate sampling of diverse literary styles. However, pastiche reached its fullest development as a self-conscious technique in postmodern works like John Fowles' The French Lieutenant's Woman, which deliberately imitates Victorian novel conventions while simultaneously commenting on them. Simply put, pastiche is a literary work that deliberately imitates the style, techniques, themes, or characteristic features of one or more existing works or authors, either as respectful homage or for comedic, critical, or parodic purposes. Key features of pastiche include conscious imitation of another work's style, form, or genre conventions. It can be reverential homage or satirical commentary. It often combines elements from multiple sources or traditions. It requires readers' familiarity with original works for full appreciation. It frequently contains intertextual references and allusions. Unlike simple copying, adds original elements or new contexts. In postmodern works, often accompanied by self-awareness about the act of imitation. For UGC NET, remember that John Fowles' The French Lieutenant's Woman exemplifies postmodern pastiche by adopting Victorian novel conventions while simultaneously subverting them through techniques like multiple endings and authorial intrusions that call attention to its constructed nature. Let's explore how pastiche has been employed across different periods and works. John Fowles' The French Lieutenant's Woman represents sophisticated postmodern pastiche, consciously adopting the style and conventions of Victorian novels like those by Thomas Hardy and George Eliot. Fowles writes in a Victorian omniscient narrative voice. I'm quoting from the novel. Ernestina's face was not in fact an authentic cameo, but pure Victorian idealization. Yet, he simultaneously disrupts this imitation with postmodern techniques including multiple endings and authorial interventions where he discusses the artifice of his Victorian pastiche. This story I am telling is all imagination. These characters I create never existed outside my own mind, goes the quote. James Joyce's Ulysses employs pastiche across its episodes, each imitating different literary styles from journalism to catechism. The Oxen of the Sun chapter famously pastiches the entire evolution of English prose style from Anglo-Saxon to modern slang, demonstrating pastiche's capacity for literary historical commentary. Tom Stoppard's play Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead pastiches Shakespearean language and situations from Hamlet while also incorporating elements of Beckettian absurdism, creating a hybrid that comments on both traditions. Jean Rice's White Saragossa Sea functions as both prequel and critique of Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, adopting aspects of Victorian Gothic romance while reimagining the story from a post-colonial perspective, showing how pastiche can serve revisionist purposes. Sandra Gilbert and Susan Guba's critical work, The Mad Woman in the Attic, identifies how women writers like Jane Austen often employed pastiche of male literary forms while subtly subverting them, demonstrating pastiche's potential for cultural critique. Susanna Clark's Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell meticulously pastiches early 19th century prose style and the conventions of the historical novel, complete with scholarly footnotes demonstrating pastiche's continued vitality in contemporary literature. Now, let's test your understanding with a quick quiz. Which statement best characterizes pastiche as a literary technique? Option A, a direct quotation or copy of another work without any original contribution. Option B, a deliberate imitation of another work's style that typically adds original elements or places familiar conventions in new contexts. Take a moment to think about it. You may pause the video if you want, and the answer is B. Pastiche involves conscious imitation of existing styles or works, but it's not mere copying. It recombines familiar elements in new ways or contexts, often for critical or creative purposes. Option A describes plagiarism or direct quotation, not pastiche, which requires creative transformation of its sources. Pastiche typically involves adding something new to what's being imitated, whether through combination, commentary, or contextualization. Remember, pastiche is a literary work that deliberately imitates the style or features of existing works or authors, either as homage or for critical purposes, as exemplified in John Fowles' The French Lieutenant's Woman, which both adopts and subverts Victorian novel conventions. For your UGC NET exam, be prepared to identify pastiche, distinguish it from related concepts like parody, allusion, and adaptation. Questions shown in the video may or may not have been directly questioned in the UGC NET examination. I suggest and request that audience cross-verify the number of instances each term or concept appears. If there is an error, please check the description box for corrections. In our next video, we'll explore another important concept from our cluster. Thank you very much for supporting and watching Literate channel. Please feel free to comment below on any queries you may have about the terms in the video. I'll see you in the next video. Happy learning.